it's clear that he's very much on top of his brief with this. And I would hope that all cabinet ministers and junior ministers, and indeed all members of the Oireachtas would, because of the importance of this particular issue. I don't have a whole lot more to say on it. I just would like to hear dates and when exactly we can expect the sexual offences bill to come before us, and when can we expect it to be to deliberations at Oireachtas level to be concluded and the bill signed into law, so as we can say that we are fully compliant with all elements of the directive.
Senator van Turnhout.
Very much, and I too would like to join in welcoming the Minister to the House. And thank you for your very comprehensive presentation to us this morning on the EU Directive. I have so much to say on so many of the areas, but I'm actually going to just focus, Minister, on Article 25 of the Directive in relation to child abuse material online. And I do welcome the commitments that you've given this morning. As we all know, among the wide-ranging provisions in relation to criminal offences and sanctions in the area of sexual abuse and exploitation of children, the Directive requires all Member States to take the necessary measures to ensure the prompt removal of any web pages containing or disseminating child abuse material hosted on servers within their jurisdiction, but also it asks Member States to put in appropriate safeguards to block access to Internet users within their territory of web pages containing or disseminating child abuse material hosted on servers outside of their jurisdiction. Minister, you gave us a very comprehensive reply, but I don't know whether this is a sign of things to come, but I kind of feel that Seanad's role has been airbrushed out of that, because in February 2012 we actually had an independent group motion on this very subject. On the EU Directive and the need for Ireland to block. And at the time I was delighted that my colleagues, and Senator Mary-Ann O'Brien is here, Senator Fiat McAneil, Senator Catherine Spone, Senator Mary-Louise O'Donnell, and indeed I could probably say every senator in this House supported that motion in calling on a blocking, and we took the Minister's word that he would look at it, even though we know at the time the ISPs and, I would dare to even say, some of the officials were not agreeing with us on the need to block. So I do welcome the move, but I do want to acknowledge the role that we as the Senate have made in that, in calling, because all too often the ISPs, and I get it, I've produced a report which I've published today, Minister, and I'm very happy to present you a copy of the report on effective strategies to tackle online child abuse material. But often we're told, blocking doesn't really work. You're not going to get rid of it all. Don't be naive. Would you say the same to drug traffickers? Let's just take down the customs, because drugs get into this country. They do actually get past our borders. So why don't we just take down the borders? We have to put a deterrent in place to block. I'm not living in some naive land that thinks that, that will solve it all and solve it. It is a deterrent. It will ensure that the average citizen will not accidentally come across material. And they do, Minister. I have examples where they do. So I do much welcome the commitment that's given there. I would like to see a much greater urgency. I was disappointed, Minister, to see in the legislative programme that the Criminal Law Sexual Offences Bill is still under Section C. Which means that publication is not expected until 2014. And I know the Minister for Justice will know I have a long list of things that the Minister for Justice has promised that this sexual offences bill is going to cover. Personally, let alone I know other colleagues have other issues. But there is a difficulty, Minister, on the proliferation of child abuse material. I think on the internet, it's a stain on our moral conscience. I am very concerned, and that's why I commissioned the report myself, Minister, and I've gone through the options that are there for Ireland, what needs to be done. We just need to think of the victim profile, and many members would have gone to an extraordinary briefing we received before we had the group motion. Pat McKenna of Childwatch and Michael Moran, who's Assistant Director in the Trafficking of Human Beings with Interpol, briefed us. And they gave us startling figures, Minister, in February 2012. But when we look at it, when they're looking at some of the images we're talking about, 74% of the victims appear to be 10 years or younger. We heard of images of children with their umbilical cord still on them. This idea that, maybe they're an adult or maybe they're a child. The prevalence is moving towards children who cannot yet speak because they cannot articulate what is happening. These are horrendous pictures we're talking about and images. It is a crime scene. The difficulty is when we look at the offender profile. 70% of them are aged between 21 and 50. 59% are likely to be married. 41% are likely to have children. And 33% are physically abusive in other aspects of their life. And if we look, we were told at that briefing, Minister, and it still stays with me, the average person who gets into this trade, I'm not talking about, the people who are in the high-level exchanges, but the average citizen, what happens is they accidentally come across an image. They are horrified. They walk away from the computer, they're horrified. But within a week, many will go back and start looking for more images and start seeking. And these images are not traded in money. It is in images. So then you want to be king of the pack. What do? You create your own images. We really have to bring a block. This is affecting Irish children. It's affecting children worldwide. I've been when you hear real stories, children who've been abused, and for me, it's one of these areas, and I'm sure everybody in the room, there's many crimes I don't agree with, but I can nearly understand murder, and I don't agree at all or condone in any way. I cannot understand child abuse. I cannot get my head around why people would do it. But you have a victim who then finds out that their images are proliferated right across the world, and in their own country they will not block these images. We have to ensure that we have a blocking system in place. Minister, you've mentioned about hotline. I call it the lesser-known hotline. It is great to have it, but if it's not publicised, if people don't know about it, to be honest, I think it can be used as a cover sometimes by the ISPs. Look, that is there. It's a bit like on the drink awareness. We have MAFS and Drink Aware. For me, we need a much more independent system. Minister, the countries that already have filtering in place, just to say, Canada, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Switzerland, Italy, Netherlands, Finland, New Zealand, France, Malta, Australia, UK, that means Northern Ireland, all our mobile phone providers across Europe have it. So really, any arguments you hear about why we can't do it, I don't accept it. And just finally, Minister, I'd like to say, I do want to commend the work, and agree with you on commending the work of the Garda Síochána, Europol and Interpol. I do think they're doing amazing work, but we need to support them, and that's why, and obviously I think it's quite clear, I feel so strongly. And my question, Minister, is why there isn't a greater urgency for bringing in this transposition of the directive. I think we should be doing it without delay. It's great that we have the EU directive, so let's use the EU directive to transpose it. Let's bring filtering in place. Self-regulation is not working. The ISPs, in my opinion, are being dragged to the table. A child abuse image, I'll just end with this, a child abuse image is a crime scene. It is. Think of it that way. It is a crime scene. It's a digital record of some of the most monstrous crimes against children. And for me, this is about protecting real children from real abuse in the real world. And we need to take action. And I plead that there is a greater urgency for this issue. We can do it discreetly and efficiently, and I've examined that in my report. Thank you.
Senator Batchik.
And I'd like first to welcome Minister